I guarantee I can make you a better nature photographer if you'll just follow these 10 tips. Tip number 1, light is everything. Follow the light. Lighting in nature photography is all about 1, getting up 2 hours before sunrise, getting to where you need to be in position 15 minutes before sunrise, all set up, and then shooting all the way through sunrise up into an hour or 2 after sunrise, depending on your subject. If you'll do that, you'll be a much better photographer. There's a pro photographer out there right now that actually calls his business chasing the light. And that's because that's what we're doing. We're recording light. That's what photography is all about. If you'll get up early, stay, don't go past 10:30. Later in the afternoon, what do? 2 hours before sunset, you start shooting again, and you shoot as long as you want to, depending on your subject. Tip number 2, get in close. When you're doing portraits of animals, portraits of people, portraits of anything, get in close, fill the frame. I'm famous for one photograph in particular of a bear, and it is so frame filling that it cannot help but be impactful. If you want to be a better wildlife photographer, get in close. And even with some scenics, getting in close is the way to go. Tip number 3, if you want to get good at the craft, practice. How do I practice? 1, go to the zoo, go to an arboretum, go to an aviary, go to the local sunflower farm and ask them to photograph sunflowers. Whatever it takes locally to get better, do it. Trust me. Then when you get into the field, when you get out there and you're in Alaska, when you get out there and you're in a big national park somewhere, you will thank me for telling you to practice locally. Tip number 4, use blinds. Nature photography is not just about the landscape. Nature photography is about the animals. Animals don't like people. I got news for you guys. And so because of that, we need these blinds or hides. If you're in a blind or hide, the animal is going to act much better. They're going to perform as they normally would. You're not going to have a scared animal in front of you. Get that 600 millimeter lens out. Get that 400 millimeter lens out. Get a blind. There's pop-up blinds. You can use your car as a blind. There's all kind of options out there. I highly encourage using a blind. It will make your work much more comfortable and the animals feel much safer. If you use a blind, your wildlife photography is going to improve. Tip number 5, use a sturdy tripod or support. I cannot emphasize this enough. So many times people will buy a $20, $40 tripod. If you're not spending $250 or higher on a tripod, you probably have a bad tripod. Tripods do so much for you. They give you stability, so it makes for better framing and sharper images. Just make sure it's a good tripod. I cannot emphasize that enough. Also, on the animal side of things, try a beanbag support. You can put the beanbag on your door. Automatically now you have a blind and you have support for your camera. Tip number 6, try some rules around photography. In this particular case, I want you to try the rule of thirds. Think of the rule of thirds as dividing your screen up into thirds like a tic-tac-toe board. When you do that, you'll actually be able to position your subject at those different points or thirds within your frame. This allows you to start thinking more creatively. This allows you to experiment with different looks. There are a lot of other rules out there in photography. And remember, rules don't mean you always use it. But if you'll learn to use the rule of thirds in your images, I guarantee you'll be a better nature photographer. Tip number 7, use multiple angles to get the best photographs. Try getting down low to the ground. Remember, different angles from what a human is used to seeing generally work best. So if I'm always pointing my camera down like this, that's not really going to be that effective because people are always looking down, right? Try low angle, try really high angles. Try, for example, in a waterfall, try putting rocks in the foreground, getting in close to the rocks. Set your camera to f/16 and let that depth of field carry you into the distance of that photograph. Everything will be sharp. Make sure you use a tripod, and you can't go wrong. You will be a better photographer if you learn to use different angles and try different angles when you're out in the field. Tip number 8. Oh, this is a tough one, guys. Tip number 8. Learn to use your camera right. Read the manual. Study how your camera works. Turn it on. Go through the menus. Test different menus. The worst thing you're going to do is get everything really jumbled up, and then you have to reset back to factory default. No harm done, right? Test each one, read about them, see how you can integrate this into your nature photography. I guarantee you, you will be a much better nature photographer if you learn to use your manual and learn to use your camera. Tip number 9 on how to be a better nature photographer. How about this one? Research where you're going. If you're not one of these people that gets online and checks the maps and checks all these different programs, start doing it. Use Google Maps. Go to the destination on Google Maps. Look at street views. Look at other photographs that other photographers have made on Flickr and social media. Find out where to go and then research it. Use programs like the Photographer's Ephemeris, where you can actually, for free, go online, see the sunrise, sunset, the moon phases, how the scene is going to look when you arrive at your location, and then how it's going to look when you leave after sunset. That is one way you can become a much more effective and much better nature photographer. Okay, last but not least, tip number 10. Use different lenses to give you different effects and different looks. Try a 16mm to give you that ultra wide angle for a sweeping landscape. Try a 200mm against a waterfall to give you isolated waterfall pictures. Try 300, 400, 600mm with animals, birds. Try to get close, try to get impact. Just see how close you can get. See how far away you can get and still have it look good. Try that 200mm on a distant landscape. You know, all these things can make a huge difference in your photography. I guarantee if you start using different lenses, different angles, all of these 10 tips, you will become a much better photographer. Most of all, have fun and make it a great day and get out there and enjoy nature. Bye-bye.